This is Donald Trump, the 45th and, God willing, 47th President of the United States. Register to vote, guys. On Monday, August 26th, President Trump went to Arlington National Cemetery for a wreath-laying ceremony to honor the victims of the suicide bombing at Hamid Karzai International Airport, which left 13 American troops dead. President Trump posted the following video on TikTok.
We lost 13 great people. What a horrible day it was. We didn't lose one person in 18 months. And then they took over that disaster, the leaving of Afghanistan.
It's a moving video, right? A reminder of how the Biden-Harris administration were in such a hurry to be able to pull out of Afghanistan in time for a 9/11 photo op that it led to the worst military blunder in our nation's history. So the following day, NPR reported that 2 members of Donald Trump's campaign staff had a verbal and physical altercation with an official at Arlington National Cemetery. A source with knowledge of the incident, oh, here we go, an anonymous source, it always is, said a cemetery official tried to prevent Trump staffers from filming and photographing in a section where recent US casualties are buried. The source said Arlington officials had made clear that only cemetery staff members would be authorized to take photographs or film in the area known as Section 60. However, this was a lie. Arlington Cemetery had authorized for Trump to have an official photographer and/or videographer, and even alerted members of the press pool of their presence. When the cemetery official tried to prevent Trump campaign staff from entering Section 60, campaign staff verbally abused and pushed the official aside, according to the source. But in response, the Trump campaign pushed back hard. The fact is that a private photographer was permitted on the premises, and for whatever reason, an unnamed individual, clearly suffering from a mental health episode, decided to physically block members of President Trump's team during a very solemn ceremony. And what has not been made clear is exactly why this altercation took place. The Army put out a statement claiming that participants in the August 26 ceremony and a subsequent Section 60 visit were made aware of federal laws, Army regulations, and DoD policies, which clearly prohibit political activities on cemetery grounds. An ANC employee who attempted to ensure adherence to these rules was abruptly pushed aside. Nowhere in that statement does it say that rules were being broken. What it does say is an ANC employee attempted to ensure adherence to these rules. So, 2 questions. A, were there actual rules being broken? And B, if so, which rule or rules were they exactly? What was being done specifically to have set off the altercation? Consistent with the decorum expected at ANC, this employee acted with professionalism and avoided further disruption. The incident was reported to the Joint Base Meier-Henderson Hall Police Department, but the employee subsequently decided not to press charges. Therefore, the Army considers this matter closed. And it's closed probably for good reason. In a statement to NPR, Stephen Chung, the Trump campaign spokesman, strongly rejected the notion of a physical altercation, adding, "We are prepared to release footage if such defamatory claims are made." And yet NPR was completely happy to lie about what took place at Arlington. Here's Quill Lawrence on All Things Considered.
Former President Trump took part in laying wreaths on the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington, and that was filmed and photographed. But Arlington National Cemetery told NPR they were crystal clear that their rules did not allow an outside photographer to enter Section 60, where Iraq and Afghanistan vets are mostly buried.
Nope. Again, Trump was authorized by Arlington National Cemetery to have a photographer and a videographer with him, including in Section 60. ANC put out a statement. Federal law prohibits political campaign or election-related activities within Army National Military cemeteries to include photographers, content creators, or any other persons attending for purposes or in direct support of a partisan political candidate's campaign. Notice that the statement didn't say that Section 60 photography was off limits. I mean, if it was that day, don't you think that the Army would have said something about it? Again, NPR is lying.
Does that mean that the Trump campaign essentially had permission here?
No, that's still illegal. It's illegal to do anything political on the grounds of Arlington Cemetery.
So NPR is basically saying that by simply having a photographer there, that it automatically made Trump's visit political. Welcome to the state of journalism in 2024.
If you look at one of the photos that's going around with former President Trump and these family members giving a thumbs up and smiling in front of the tombstone for Staff Sergeant Darren Taylor Hoover with his family there, well, there are two other gravestones that are visible, and they're both Green Berets. And I asked the Trump campaign if they requested permission to use these other grave sites. I haven't heard back. But that's why Arlington has these rules. These officials know what's at stake.
Again, another lie by NPR. According to the ANC website, we ask media and cemetery visitors to respect the solemnity of Arlington National Cemetery by refraining from taking pictures of or filming someone who is visibly mourning. Please ask for permission to film or photograph those visiting a gravesite. In other words, taking a picture of a gravestone at Arlington is not against the rules, nor does anyone need permission to take a picture of one or post it wherever they want. And the rules don't change just because it's connected to the bad orange man. Any original photographs taken at Arlington National Cemetery do not require a release from Arlington or the Department of the Army. Photographers may keep and use photographs they have taken as they wish. NPR is doing everything in their power to convince the public at large that Donald Trump somehow desecrated an entire gravesite simply by being there. And they're able to do it thanks in part to your federal tax dollars, which leaves only one option. It's time to vote a Republican supermajority into Congress and defund NPR once and for all. Next, here's Kristen Welker of NBC's Meet the Press getting in on the spreading of misinformation about Donald Trump.
Donald Trump's visit to Arlington National Cemetery. You've been talking about this. He attended a wreath-laying ceremony, obviously, for the 13 service members who were killed during the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. He was invited by those family members, important to say that. He also had campaign staffers with him. Photos, videos were posted on a campaign site.
Nope. Trump posted one video on TikTok, Instagram, and Truth Social. These are social media sites and not campaign sites. And objectively, it's not a campaign video, unlike, say, this Joe Biden campaign video from 4 years ago.
This year, Memorial Day feels a little different. You can never lessen the magnitude of your loss. This I can promise you. We will never forget. May God bless you all. May God protect our troops.
But it's fine. Totally different when Democrats do it.
Let me ask you about what we're hearing from another family. The family of Master Sergeant Andrew Marchesano. He was a Green Beret. His family was concerned that his grave was actually shown in a photo that was posted on social media.
Let's pause this for a moment. Notice that there's no attribution of where this photo came from. This was done on purpose because Kristen Welker wants you to believe that Trump's photographer took it and that Trump's team posted it, when in reality, it was posted by the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, on his X account. And if you look closely, they're posing for a photo for a completely different camera person. And here you can't even see two of the Gold Star family members. This was not taken by an official camera person. It appears that it was taken on a phone, probably by one of Governor Cox's staffers.
Is it ever appropriate to make campaign content at military grave sites?
He didn't take campaign photos there. These families, Gold Star families, whose children died because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's incompetence, invited him to the cemetery, and they asked him to take those photos. This is their one chance to have a memory of their children, to commemorate their service and to honor their sacrifice. They wanted President Trump there. They wanted to take those photos.
And Tom Cotton is correct. The families wanted President Trump there. Why? because Trump has been in their corner for the last 3 years, unlike resident Biden and cackling Kamala.
You know who the families also invited? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Where were they? Joe Biden was sitting at a beach. Kamala Harris was sitting at her mansion in Washington, D.C. She was 4 miles away. 10 minutes. She could have gone to the cemetery and honored the sacrifice of those young men and women. But she hasn't. She never has spoken to them or taken a meeting with them.
And that's true. Kamala Harris has never met with or spoken to any of these Gold Star families. But watch the breakneck speed with which Kristen Welker comes to Kamala Harris's defense.
She never has spoken to them or taken a meeting with them.
Well, they did meet with them during the dignified transfer.
Because of
they were with them at the dignified transfer.
No, they weren't. Resident Biden was there checking his watch a dozen times. But Kamala Harris, with 100% certainty, was not. After Welker got smeared all over social media, Meet the Press was forced to address it. On our broadcast this morning, we incorrectly implied that both President Biden and Vice President Harris attended the dignified transfer of 13 American service members killed during the Afghanistan withdrawal. Incorrectly implied? Kristen Welker outright said it. Twice.
Well, they did meet with them during the dignified transfer. They were with them at the dignified transfer.
And the lying didn't stop there. Welker attempted to interrupt and correct Tom Cotton, but the senator wasn't going to let her get away with it.
Her and Joe Biden's incompetence, those 13 Americans were killed in Afghanistan.
Well, not everyone obviously was pleased with this visit. And again, just the law says memorial services and ceremonies at Army, national, military cemeteries will not include partisan political activities.
And it didn't, Chris. President Trump wasn't wearing a red...
It was posted on a campaign site, though.
He wasn't wearing a red MAGA hat.
I understand.
He didn't have a Trump
it was posted on the
just
Trump
like Joe
TikTok
Biden, just
site.
like Joe Biden has posted content of himself in the cemetery or in other cemeteries.
He wasn't with campaign
or a dignified
staffers.
transfer.
Yeah.
They're all American citizens. They have a right to go there and to honor the sacrifice of those 13 Americans who Joe Biden and Kamala Harris sent to their death.
And remember how we were told that Joe Biden is supposed to be like the king of empathy or something? Yet for whatever reason, he has made no effort whatsoever to attempt to make it up to these Gold Star families, let alone America. For example, here's what Joe Biden was doing on the 1-year anniversary on the attack on Abbey Gate.
Tonight, President Joe Biden. The nice thing about this is you can outrun the Secret Service.
That's right. Instead of meeting with the families or holding a memorial service, Biden took a trip to Beltsville, Maryland, to tape an episode of Jay Leno's Garage, because he just cares so deeply.
This is the only time you get to drive is when you're with me.
Yeah, it is. It's the God's truth.
I know, it's funny.
And I miss it.
I know.
As for the second anniversary, Biden was on vacation in Lake Tahoe. And on the third anniversary, Biden was, on vacation. Again. Must be nice. And as a reminder, during the June presidential debate, our so-called commander-in-chief completely forgot about the attack at Abbey Gate.
The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
So yeah, Joe Biden doesn't give a crap about Gold Star families, let alone our military. Now, as for Kamala Harris, here's a reminder that she had a hand in the decision that would lead to the murders of 13 service members and dozens more injured and or maimed.
President Biden always said that he wants you to be the last person in the room, particularly for big decisions, just as he was for President Obama. He just made a really big decision. Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
And you feel comfortable?
I do.
Yeah, that didn't age well. And for whatever reason, she has never reached out to any of the families of the 13 service members killed. Too busy, I guess. Kamala Harris did find the time, however, to write this 267-word post on X to attack Donald Trump. As vice president, I've had the privilege of visiting Arlington National Cemetery several times. It is a solemn place, a place where we come together to honor American heroes who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service of this nation. It is not a place for politics. And yet, as was reported this week, Donald Trump's team chose to film a video there. resulting in an altercation with cemetery staff. Let me be clear, the former president disrespected sacred ground, all for the sake of a political stunt. But here's the thing. The Gold Star families made arrangements through Representative Darrell Iss's office in terms of the visit and the wreath ceremony at the tomb of the unknown soldier. President Trump was simply invited by the families, and he accepted. By labeling all of this as a political stunt, she's actually insulting the Gold Star families. But we'll get to that in a minute. This is nothing new from Donald Trump. This is a man who called our fallen service members suckers and losers. Ah, the debunked suckers and losers hoax, of course. If there is one thing which we as Americans can all agree, it is that veterans, military families, and service members should be honored, never disparaged, and treated with nothing less than our highest respect and gratitude. Yeah, tell that to your boss, President Joe Biden. And it is my belief that someone who cannot meet the simple sacred duty should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States of America. That last bit is an applause line in her speeches, by the way.
Donald Trump should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States of America.
I will always honor the service and sacrifice of all of America's fallen heroes who have made the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of our beloved nation and our cherished freedoms. I mourn and salute them, and I will never politicize them. And yet, here she is politicizing them, because by insulting Trump for going to the cemetery, she is insulting the families who invited him to the cemetery. And for those families, enough is enough. Within hours of her post, Gold Star family members, representing 7 of the 13 killed at Abbey Gate, posted video responses specifically directed towards Vice President Kamala Harris.
Here we are on a beautiful holiday weekend day. I gotta stop what I'm doing, spending time with what's left of my family, to address a heinous, vile, and disgusting post put out by Kamala Harris.
Kamala, your statement is nothing more than a political spin to help you look better in your presidential campaign against Donald Trump.
President Trump has been there for us from the very beginning, when our son and the other 12 of his brothers and sisters in arms were murdered due to your negligence and uncaring attitude towards our military.
You indicated in your post that you support the military and military families. I, for one, have not seen that support. It's been 3 years since my son was killed in action, and myself, my family, and other Gold Star families have not seen any support from you or your administration.
Vice President Harris, I ask you, why won't you return a call and explain to us how you call my daughter-in-law's death a success?
Kamala Harris and President Biden didn't even say their 13 names. They called the withdrawal in Afghanistan a success, and for us it was just sadness and a disgrace.
You have failed for 3 years and 8 months to acknowledge our kids, to acknowledge me. You don't know me. You've never spoken to me. You've never reached out to me. You have failed in your duties as vice president.
I agree with you on one thing, that a person like you should never and will never stand behind the seal of presidency.
No one should be running for president if they cannot honor military members, their families, as well as veterans. So I guess that means that you should step down, Kamala.
Powerful stuff, right? These families deserve answers and accountability, but instead they've been ignored, all but forgotten, and now greatly insulted by this garbage administration. And with the first presidential debate just days away, this entire incident is going to be fresh in the minds of voters. And now it's time for Kamala Harris to pay the political price. As always, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I hope to see you next time. If there is a next time.